People don't seem to realize that sleep is a learned skill. Some of you probably don't know that. There are some people who think that they're not good at getting to sleep and they have trouble sleeping. And there are other people who don't have trouble. But I'm here to tell you that sleeping properly is a skill and it's not something you just want. If all you're doing is, I sure wish I slept better, but you're not doing anything differently, you don't understand how sleep works. It's a skill. I'm going to give you the skill and suggest that you make a system out of experimenting for your personal situation. So we're all a little different. So the tips I give you are close to universal, but you might need to tweak them for your own purposes. So you should experiment continuously. Continuously. Don't ever stop finding a better way to get good sleep. So change your pillows, change your sheets, get a different mattress. Just keep plugging at it. Those things might not make a difference in your case. Some cases they will, but don't stop. It's a lifelong process to get better at sleeping. It's a skill. So anxiety is different from stress. Anxiety can be that causeless thing that you're worried about and it's irrational, but it has at least a little overlap with stress in general. And what I mean is, if you could lower your stress in general by doing all the right lifestyle stuff, you're probably in better shape for handling everything else. So if you've got some anxiety, just normal stress reduction won't make it go away, but it could lessen its effect on you. So let's talk about that. I treat stress reduction as a full-time job, and I have since college. Prior to college, I probably had more stress than I wanted, and I said to myself, I'm just going to spend all of my time getting rid of this because I hate going through the day feeling stressed or anxious or whatever. I'm going to make it my full-time job. That stress is going to go away, and I'm going to work on that. So I read a book called How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big, about how to create systems that can fix your fitness and your diet and your sleep and all those things. And I want to talk today about sleep specifically. And here's the thing I want to say. People don't seem to realize that sleep is a learned skill. Some of you probably don't know that. There are some people who think that they're not good at getting to sleep and they have trouble sleeping. And there are other people who don't have trouble. But I'm here to tell you that sleeping properly is a skill and it's not something you just want. If all you're doing is, I sure wish I slept better, but you're not doing anything differently, you don't understand how sleep works. It's a skill. I'm going to give you the skill and suggest that you make a system out of experimenting for your personal situation. So we're all a little different. So the tips I give you are close to universal, but you might need to tweak them for your own purposes. So you should experiment continuously. Continuously. Don't ever stop finding a better way to get good sleep. So change your pillows, change your sheets, get a different mattress. Just keep plugging at it. Those things might not make a difference in your case. Some cases they will, but don't stop. It's a lifelong process to get better at sleeping. It's a skill. Here are some of the things you need to know. Number one, if you can't get to sleep at night, maybe you didn't work hard enough. I know you don't want to hear that. But in my own experience, which I'm not suggesting necessarily extends to everybody else, but in my experience, if I have worked hard all day, if I have exercised that day, and that's the big one, if I've physically exercised and I've worked hard, I never have trouble sleeping, period. And when I don't do enough of those two things, I do. It's pretty one-to-one correlation. So the first thing you should say to yourself is, what do I need to do with my day so that by the time I get in bed, I'm primed to sleep? If you're not active every day, at least taking a long walk, cleaning the garage, it doesn't have to be going to the gym, But if you haven't physically been active, good luck getting to sleep. Because if your body isn't a little bit tired, it's not gonna work for you. So the first thing you should tell yourself is if you can't sleep, maybe you didn't work hard enough. Which could have been just exercise for your own benefit. It doesn't have to be work. The next thing you need to know is that your body and your mind are sort of a feedback loop. So if you have some anxiety in your mind, it'll come out in your body. So your body will feel anxious and stressed. What happens when your body feels anxious and stressed? It feeds back to your mind. So your mind is making your body anxious, your body is making your mind anxious, and it's just reinforcing. It's hard to get your mind to just stop. It's much easier to get your body to slow down because you can just exhaust it. Just exercise until your body is just exhausted. And that's one way you can break out of the loop. Because if your body's exhausted, it's not going to feed back the anxiety and stress so much to your brain, and then your brain won't be part of the loop anymore. So that's the main thing, is stop thinking it's a brain problem and start thinking of it as a physical body problem. Exhaust your body, your brain will follow. Here's the next thing. Don't bring up bad topics after 8 p.m. You can adjust the 8 p.m. to whenever your normal sleep time is. But after about 8 p.m., especially if you're in a relationship, it's tempting to, let's say you haven't seen each other all day and you want to talk about these things because it's the only time you have, the kids are in bed or whatever. Don't do it. Just don't do it. 8 o'clock, or, adjust for your own situation. But after 8 o'clock, don't talk about the things that are going to keep you awake. Just don't do it. That's a big one. And certainly don't have those conversations in bed after you get in bed. Definitely don't do that. Here's one of my biggest, most important tips. Most of you will reject this, but I promise you it's the most important. So if there's only one thing you want to learn, maybe the exercise is the most important. But in the top two is wake up and go to sleep at the same time all week. Don't want to hear that, do you? Because you want to get up, when you have to go to work, you want to get up early, but then it's the weekend. You're like, finally, it's the weekend. I can sleep in. There's nothing worse for your sleep. And if you ruin your sleep, there's almost nothing worse except maybe diet to hurt your overall health. All right? Top rule, get up the same time Saturday and Sunday or close to it. All right? Don't do the go to bed at 3 a.m., sleep till noon thing because you like to party. It's fun. Now, I understand the younger you are, the more tempting that will be. Your social life might require it. It might be how you meet people. It might be integral to who you are. But if you do that, just know that the trade-off is you will be tired and sleepy and it will cost you everywhere else in your life. Probably not worth it. So I also say that alcohol is poison. So if you're drinking, you're going to have sleep problems independent of the fact that it might keep you up late. So, number one rule, get up and go to sleep approximately the same times every day of the week, because if you don't turn it into a habit that your body recognizes as a habit, it's going to be tough. Got to turn it into a habit so that your body at about 9 p.m., 10 p.m. is already telling you, go to sleep, go to sleep. Here's one. Don't let your bed be the place that you use to not sleep. And this means several things. Don't go to bed and then start a task. Don't go to bed and do a project while you're in bed. Don't go to bed and watch TV unless you're one of those people that TV puts you to sleep. That's a different situation. Don't use your bed for anything but sleeping and, of course, sex. Those two things are the only things your bed should be. If you find that it's 1 a.m. in the morning and you can't sleep, and you put it into work, right? You've tossed and turned and you're just not going to sleep, get up. Get out of bed. Get completely out of bed. Go sit on the couch. Go pet the dog. Go walk around. Try it again in 15 minutes. Because you want your bed to be the place that you do sleep, not the thing that you go and you toss and turn when you can't sleep. So if you know you're not going to get to sleep in the next half hour, because you can just tell it's just not going to happen, get up. And by the way, this is what the experts recommend. I'm not making up any of this. There's nothing that I'm saying that doesn't come directly from pretty much all experts. It's probably bad to be looking at your devices in bed. Put them away. I know that's tempting, but these glowing screens are just terrible for your sleep. Here's another tip. You want your room to be as dark as possible, ideally completely dark. The more light there is, the less you can sleep. It's purely biological. There will be people who tell you, no, I sleep better when there's a little light on, because maybe you're, afraid if it gets too dark or whatever. But I would suggest that biologically, there's probably no exception. Biologically, probably the darker it is, the better. So get blackout curtains in your bedroom if you can. Obviously, keep away from caffeine, too late in the afternoon. That's going to keep you up. Temperature is important. I like it cold. Other people don't. And here's another one. Don't do the list of what you do tomorrow while you're in bed. Never ever get in bed and then run through what you have to do tomorrow. I treat the next day as though it doesn't exist. When I go to bed, I spend 0 time thinking about tomorrow. You should get in that habit. Never think about tomorrow while you're in bed. It's the worst thing you could do. Never think about your list, your chores, or anything. If you're concerned about those things, get up an hour earlier. Go to bed earlier and get up an hour. It's a good thing to get up early, reduce your stress. You're not going to be late. Read some things, have your coffee, make your to-do list once you're fresh in the morning. That's your best thing to do. And then, as I said in the start, all of these are just starting tips. If you do these starting tips, that's just going to get you going. But this should be a lifetime of experimentation. Do you sleep better at this temperature? Do you sleep better with a fan on? Fan is a good sort of background sound. Do you sleep better in pajamas? Do you sleep better in this kind of sheet? Just keep at it. It's your full-time job to make sure that you don't have stress. Now, reducing your stress, as I said, doesn't get rid of, deep-rooted anxiety problems. But you don't want both, right? You don't want to have anxiety that you've always had all your life that's just sort of there for various situations. You don't want to add to that by being also stressed. So treat them as if they're a pair of things and you don't want them working together. So if you can get rid of one, do it. All right. What if your spouse needs exact opposite of you to sleep? That's a big problem. I mean, ultimately, that's a personal problem. Let me tell you this. I'm going to tell you something that will change the lives of a bunch of you. Percentage-wise, not that many, but a lot of you, because we're, close to 3,000 people watching this. Probably 100,000 people will watch this by the time it's done and distributed to different platforms. And of 100,000, a whole bunch of you are going to have your whole situation changed by what I tell you next. People don't talk about it because it's embarrassing. But you can see in the comments that people sleep in separate bedrooms very commonly when they're married. Very commonly. You can see it in the comments are just going crazy with people saying separate rooms, separate rooms, separate rooms. If you have the luxury, and it's totally a luxury, and one of you snores, or one of you needs a different temperature, or you sleep at different times, whatever's going on, just know, and here's the part where I'm helping you, just know that if you have a gathering of your best friends, a bunch of couples inside a party, just look around the room. I guarantee you, 1/3 of those people are sleeping in separate rooms, and they're just not telling you. because people don't like to admit that because it sounds like there's something wrong when actually it's just a better way to sleep. So simply knowing that it's a normal thing and lots of normal people do it, they just don't talk about it, just freed about 10,000 people who just said, seriously? Normal people with good relationships sometimes sleep in separate rooms? No, not sometimes. Very commonly. So if you're one of those people who needs to do that, you have all the social freedom you need, you probably won't talk about it either. That's it.